Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're here, if you're not, you didn't tune in, so it doesn't matter. If you're watching a rerun, then thanks for watching the rerun. And I'm kind of had a few technical errors this evening, so please bear with me if it all goes horribly wrong. Anyway, tonight I decided I was going to talk about last week or the week before last. I talked about my first book, The Ultimate Explorer's Guide for Kids, and this week I'm talking about this one, The Ultimate Mapping Guide for Kids. This was the second book I wrote, and it was really good fun to create. Quite a challenge to get the material right, but it was really good. Now, the inspiration for the book came from children. It really did come from children. Now, at the time that I wrote this book, I was speaking to somewhere in the region of 4,500 children every month. I was a kind of one of the keys on the Microsoft Skype in the Classroom program. So I was talking to around 4,500 kids a month around the world about different things and expeditions and trying to connect all of that stuff and bring it into the classroom. Now, at that time, one of the most common questions was, what's the most important skill for an explorer or an adventurer? And kind of, that there are lots of skills and lots of common skills that are transferable and relatable in so many different environments. But the one common skill that kind of you take across all areas, all environments, and all expeditions, all adventures is navigation. So I spoke with the publishers who were quite keen to do a second book after the success of the first one, and they said, okay, let's go for it. Let's create a second book. So I did. So I took the lessons from the first one, where I've done loads of research into how children learn, what excites them, what kind of gets their attention, how they assimilate information, and how they can understand that information. So took all of that and created the Ultimate Mapping Guide for Kids. Now, this book takes a very tiered approach to navigation, right? So it starts off with the question. This is a brand new copy, actually. I've never opened this one, and I've not been in here for ages. So it starts off with the question, what is a map? And it talks about a map and what is a map, and the uses of maps. And it goes through simple exercises. Draw a map of your bedroom, draw a map of your living room, of your home, that kind of stuff, of your garden. And then it starts to introduce scale, and it introduces grid references, and then we're building contours by making a contour map, how that works, and then it talks about how a compass works, and then all the different ways that you can use a map and a compass together, and GPS and how GPS works. There's loads of stuff in here. I've not looked through it actually for quite some time, but there you go. Draw a map of your own desk, a map of your home, a map of your neighborhood, making word maps, giving people directions, a compass rose, symbols on a map, what symbols you're likely to find on maps. And obviously this isn't UK, so it's a worldwide book, so a lot of stuff is there that's generic for the world over. Then it talks about sort of using scales, what scales are, how kids can create their own scale maps. I'm looking through this for the first time in a long time. I'm thinking it's actually quite good. I might reread this to get my own navigation skills up. Create your own scale map. What else is in here? Grid references. Create your own grid reference map. Altitudes. The old-fashioned kind of layering systems on maps with the colors to show the different altitudes. Spot heights. Make your own contour map. This is a really cool exercise. And when I was creating this, I can vaguely remember doing this at school, creating a contour map, but I couldn't actually remember how it worked. So I ended up getting a bucket, filling it, and a big rock, and filling it with water in stages and creating my own contour map, just like I was 8 years old again. Just remember, so that I could create the sketches that then I sent off to my publishers to make this book happen. And there was lots of good things. Mapping the seafloor, going outdoors, how to create route cards, that's important, top tips on kit, clothing, layering systems, rucksacks, hydration, navigation using latitude, longitude, loads and loads and loads of stuff there. Make your own compass. That's always good fun. That was always good fun as a kid, and I still do it now, which isn't embarrassing at all because it's a fun exercise. taking bearings and back bearings, how to use a compass. I think I said that already, but planning a route cards, orienteering, using GPS, bit of geocaching stuff in there, and importantly, some tips on natural navigation. So this is taking clues from nature to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, the creation of that book was really good fun, and I actually genuinely haven't opened that book for some time, so that was quite exciting actually to open it and see what I did, what I created, and how it works. Now, who's it for? It's for anyone. My idea for writing the book wasn't driven by I just wanted another book out there. I wanted to encourage kids and their families to spend more time together doing quality stuff and being active outdoors. So the book is written and created in such a way that was the ultimate aim, and that was the ultimate goal, to get kids and their families outside together. So there are exercises in there that families can do, that they can play with, they can have fun, get outside and get active. And I think that's important, you know, and it really is important, not just for all the health benefits, but families that play together, stay together, and you know that's important to me, and I think it's something that there should be a lot more focus on in this day and age, you know, where we all live, and I'm going to get shredded for this, but I don't care. But we all live quite insular lives, you know. You've got people sat there on the mobile phones, and I'm guilty, on the mobile phones, looking at social media, connecting with people that aren't in the room when they could be doing stuff there. So, like I say, encouraging families to get out and do stuff together, to put the phones aside, is good fun. Having said that, there's also a bit in there in the book about, my screensaver, about using phones for navigation and other tools, phones and apps, you know. And it's important, on that note, it's important to recognize that every navigation tool has limitations, as well as the limitations of the user. And the key to success is being able to recognize those limitations and work within them. You know, so that's whether you're using a mobile phone navigation app of whatever description, or a compass, or a map, or GPS, whatever. Every system, every tool has limitations. Learn the limitations to that navigation aid, and you will navigate better. Is it suitable for adults? I guess you wouldn't believe how many times I've heard from adults that have started their navigation journey with my book. You know, they've picked it up thinking it was going to help their kids, and it really gave them an interest, and then they take it on, you know. And I always say to anybody, this is a start point, you know. It's for families to have fun, for kids to learn a little bit about map reading and start to get that initial level of interest and get some key skills. Once you go beyond that, then, you know, there are loads of courses, there are loads of books. I'm always reading. I've got some here somewhere. Where are they? I've got books here, you know, Navigation in Mountains from the BMC, the British Mountaineering Council. I've got loads of books by Tris Gooley. You know, I'm by no means a navigation novice, but it is a perishable skill. So the more you read, the more regularly you read, the more you get out and practice, then you're going to become better, and you will keep those skills alive. So make sure you continue your reading. And like I say, that the name that I dropped there is Tristan Gooley. Look up Tristan Gooley. He's done some really cool books, especially on natural navigation techniques. Really, really cool. I don't know. Where was I going to go then? Does it really teach kids to map read? These are some questions that I've kind of picked up as I've gone along the road. Does it really teach kids to map read? Yeah, it's a good start. We've just kind of covered that up. Once you've done it, take it on to the next level. Read more in-depth books. Go on courses. No, there are loads of courses you can do about navigation. And once that seed's planted, hopefully it'll create a lifelong interest. But anyway, moving on. Some questions. What's my preferred navigation tool? Now, obviously, if you've got a question, you can drop it in the comments or whatever. Some of these questions have come up through my other social media channels. If you want to find me, go on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm ExplorerJust, at ExplorerJust everywhere. So easy way to find me. So what's my preferred navigation tool? I tend to use a variety of navigation tools, you know, map, compass, all kinds of things. Sextant, I've even used a sextant, GPS, mobile phone, the various apps, you know, from Google Maps to What 3 Words. and it tends to vary depending on where I am, what I have with me, and what's the most suitable at the time. If I'm trying to navigate around London, pulling out a sextant probably isn't going to be the most efficient use of a navigation tool. So use what you've got and use it well. Like I said just now, understand the limitations of every tool, and make sure that you bend those limitations or work within those limitations, particularly in the environment that you're in, and recognize your inabilities. And that's important, recognizing your inabilities, or inabilities, I should say. Now, when I'm navigating, no matter what I'm doing, I always look for as many what's the word I'm looking for? Validation points as possible for my movement and positioning decisions. So, for example, if I'm using a map and compass, then I'll take bearings and back bearings. I will sometimes use the altitude to back up where I am on the map. Blah 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 blah. If I'm using a mobile phone app, then I'll make sure that I'm kind of orienting the map, and I will look to see what's around me. Does what that's telling me actually marry up with what I'm seeing around me? If I'm using the What 3 Words app and it comes up with a square that I'm in, if I move 2, 3, 4, 5 paces to the right, the left, up, down, whatever, will that next square coincide with what the square is on the map? There are ways of making these things not fail safe, but making sure that you use them more effectively and more efficiently. So always look for as many points of navigation as validation as possible when you're navigating or trying to talk about your exact location. And one of the ways I do that, another way that I do that, is through natural navigation techniques. Looking at the stars, the sun, the position of different things, the way that things are growing. So there are loads of stuff out there. And like I said, if you're interested in that, look up Tristan Gooley's books. He's a cool guy. He's a cool author, and he goes into some detail on a lot of this kind of stuff. What's my favorite compass? I don't really have a favorite compass. I think if I was pressed, I've kind of got a sighting compass, like a military marching compass. That's good fun to use. It's not as easy as this kind of thing, for kind of just putting a map and away you go. But it's still very, very doable. So I don't have a favorite compass. Incidentally, my book, The Ultimate Mapping Guide for Kids, which is in the description below, does come with a free compass. Would I rely on it to navigate? Probably not. No, probably not. No, but it's there anyway for kids to have a look at and play with. What's my favorite type of coffee? The kind with caffeine in, I guess. I'm an espresso drinker, so all kinds of espresso. All kinds of espresso. Any coffee that's espresso is good for me. What food do I crave after an expedition? That largely depends on where I've been, but generally, as an example, if I'm doing a cold weather expedition, when I get home, I just want cabbage or Brussels sprouts. I don't know why I want cabbage or Brussels sprouts, but it's cabbage or Brussels sprouts, and nothing else, just cabbage or Brussels sprouts, and I'm happy. Leave me in a corner, and away I go. Do I have a favorite dog? I guess that came off of one of my other social media channels, right? I live with 3 dogs currently: a husky, a Labrador, and a Cocker Spaniel. And asking me to choose a favorite dog is saying, which is your favorite child to a parent. Now, no, I've got a brother, and I know if I said that to my parents, obviously they're going to choose me, right? Maybe not. And if you're watching, Mum and Dad, you want it. No, I can't choose a favorite dog. They're all good in different ways, and it's good fun. What's my funniest navigation story? Okay, I'm going to pick on 2 here, right? The first one is I had a load of these little button compasses. I was doing a talk at a school science fair on navigation, and I thought I'd be really good and really clever. So it's like 200-300 kids, I guess. So I went out and got 200 or 300 of these tiny little button compasses and thought I'm going to give them each kid one compass, all cleared by the teachers, all safe. So every child had their own little envelope, and one of the things in the envelope was a compass. There was a map and other stuff. So so all the kids came in and sat down, and I said, okay, put your hand in the envelope and pull out the compass. So they did that. The next thing I did was say, okay, right, everybody point to north, right? So then I had nearly 300 hands all pointing in different directions. Rookie mistake. What I should have done is make sure that all of the compasses actually worked and they were all pointing the same way. But no, they were cheap, really cheap button compasses, like pennies each. None of them worked. I think the ones that were pointing the right way, it was more by accident than design. You know, I think they were just stuck. So so that was a bit of a failure on my part, and I had to kind of scoot around that a bit quick. The other funny story I had with navigation is I've got to be careful how I say this so that the person remains anonymous and the organization involved remains anonymous. But I was asked to be a safety plant on an expedition kind of train or adventure training thing. And so I was asked to go out into this wide open space and watch these guys, and they were all going to take it in turns navigating. And my kind of role was to stay there quietly and just watch and make sure that everybody was navigating properly and all that kind of stuff. And all was going well. And then the kind of fourth or fifth guy took the lead on navigating. And I was just bimbling along because everybody knew their stuff. They'd all done loads of classroom exercises and they were spot on. So I was just bimbling along, and suddenly kind of the sun wasn't in the right place. Things weren't happening right. The wind had changed direction without us changing direction, if you know what I mean. And I thought, natural navigation here is telling me that we're off. So I went up to the guy and I said, I know he said his name then. And I said, Mr. X, just out of interest to help me learn, because obviously he didn't know that I was a plant. What are you taking your kind of your bearings off? What are you walking towards? And he pointed in the distance and went, that sheep. Right. So he was plotting our course on a sheep. Now, hopefully, anybody watching this has picked up the obvious mistake that sheep move. So he was watching a sheep, and then as the sheep was moving, we were moving towards the sheep constantly. And I'm not convinced that he was also looking at the same sheep every time, because that area is covered in sheep. So that was a bit of an amusing story to do with, I know I said sheep, but it was, I guess, but amusing story to do with navigation. It's been good fun. Have I ever been lost? No, I've just explored. And that's pretty much as deep as I want to go into that. I don't get lost. I just explore different directions and different opportunities. I'm not doing that last question. But anyway, so that's it. So I've kind of rattled on for 20 minutes, and it was about this book. Now, as I always say, if I can do stuff like this, then anybody can, you know. And one of the highlight moments of this book was I was at the Edinburgh International Book Festival, and this book had just come out a few weeks before. And my publisher sat down with me, Maxime, and bought me a lovely glass of scotch and said, right, I wanted you to sit here when I told you that the government of Chile have just bought 5,000 copies of that book in their language to chuck in to the education system. My books get used in education systems all around the world, which is really humbling and really cool and an unexpected spin-off. So the government of Chile bought 5,000 copies to put into the education system to help children learn, and not just about navigation, because through learning about navigation and other things, and this book can cover off navigation, it can cover off communication techniques, it can look at, it can assist literacy development, it can assist in so many different things. And I have to admit, when I wrote it, when I created it, I didn't expect it to have the depth that it actually has, but it's been fun. So that was probably one of the highlights, is one of the many highlights, is when I was sat down and told that the government of Chile bought 5,000 copies in one hit, and they also bought loads of my other books, and then they did a follow-up order. So yeah, so it's sold quite well around the world, and it's printed in 20 odd languages, I think. But no, it's been a good ride, a really good ride, and something unexpected. If you went back to my school teachers, and I am in touch with some of them, and said, do you think Justin Miles would create these books that are sold all over the world? Blah blah blah. Not one of them would have said yes. Anyway, we can all do whatever we want, right? You just got to find a way to make it happen. I'm going to go because it's Thursday evening. It's getting towards 8 o'clock. I'm really tired, as you can see. I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to wrap up, have a hot chocolate, and go and cuddle the dogs. And not that any of them are my favourite, but I might give Whiskey, my husky, an extra special cuddle. So I'm going to go. Whatever you're doing this week, this month, this year, whatever, be brilliant, be good, be awesome. And if I can help you in any way, shape or form, then get in touch. You can drop a comment below. You can get in touch with me through my website, justforthechallenge.com, or come and find me on any other social media channel and get in touch. Take care. Good luck.